Hello. In this video, we'll be performing exploratory data analysis, in which process we'll be analyzing certain data sets to summarize the main characteristics. And in this process, we'll be able to gain some insight about the relationships between different types of data using methods of statistical analysis. So for this process, we'll be using the data for solar power generation at two different power plants which are run by Atria Power. Atria Power is a Bangalore-based company which works in the field of renewable energy. So before we start with that, let's look at the process of solar power generation. So we have a set of solar panels which are connected to an on-grid inverter. So the energy that is generated from these solar panels in the form of direct current is collected by the inverter and it is converted into alternating current. Each inverter is connected to a monitoring system which collects data about the amount of DC, the AC, and other technical factors. The AC is then sent to a transformer which uh, steps up the AC to the required voltage, and this is then connected to the external power grid. So let's look at the data. So for each of these power plants, we have two different sets of data. The first is the power generation data set, which is collected at the inverter level. This collects information about the AC power, the DC power, and the daily yield, which is a cumulative sum of the power generated at that inverter on that particular day. And it also collects information about the total yield, which is the total yield of that inverter till that point of time. The second set of data that we have is the weather sensor data, which is collected at the plant level. So this is collected by an array of sensors which are placed around the plant. This collects information about the ambient temperature, the module temperature, and the irradiance, which is the amount of solar radiation at that particular point of time. So let's look at the data set. For the generation data, the data is collected at different inverters. Each of them have a separate ID, which is called the source key. So these are collected at 15-minute intervals over a period of 34 days. So as you can imagine, for multiple inverters over this huge uh, time period, we have a huge set of data. So we have over 68,000 rows. And for the sensor data, again, this is collected at 15-minute intervals for the same time period of 34 days. And it collects information about the ambient temperature, the module temperature, and irradiation. So for analyzing this data, we'll be using Jupyter Notebook. So for the first plant, uh, we have the data set for the plant 1 analysis. So so for this process, we'll import a set of libraries, which are standard Python libraries, into the dataset. So let's do that. So firstly, we'll import NumPy, which is numerical Python, which helps analyze the numerical values that we have in the dataset. The second that we import is Pandas. So Pandas is basically a data frame management uh, library which helps us organize the data into different data frames, which is basically a set of rows and columns. We also import Matplotlib and Seaborn, which are some visual aids which helps us to graphically represent the data. And we'll import datetime and matplotlib.dates, which helps us analyze the data from a time point frame of view. So once we do that, we have to load in the files that we have. So I've already downloaded the datasets into my system, and we'll load that into two different data frames. The first one will be the df underscore generator one, which contains information about the generator dataset, and the second one is the sensor data. So once we've done that, we'll use the head function to see the first 5 rows for each of these datasets. So as you can see, for the generator dataset, we have the different source keys for 5 different inverters, and all of them have started have been collecting data right from starting from 15th May at 12 a.m. Before we get into the analysis, we'll check to see if there are any missing values in our dataset. So we'll use the is null function. So once we run that, we can see that there are no missing values in the dataset. So that's a good sign. We'll do the same thing for the sensor data. So we see the first 5 rows, and we'll try to figure out if we have any missing values in this dataset as well. So as all of these values are false, you can see that there are no missing values in this dataset as well. So in the process of cleansing the data, we'll remove the redundant or the particular columns that we do not have any use. So as the dataset is for a particular plant, the plant ID is the same for all of this data. So what we'll do is we'll drop the column which contains the plant ID, which will help us reduce the calculation time. So we'll do that for both the data frames. Then we'll convert the date time stamp that we have in this dataset into the timestamp using the date time library. After we've done that, we'll use the describe function to find out certain relationships between the numerical data that we have. So this helps us find out the count, the mean, the standard deviation, and the minimum and maximum values, including the quartile for both the data sets. So once we've done that, we'll try to figure out some information from this data set. So firstly, we'll try to figure out what the mean value of the daily yield is. So we can see that from the table that we got from the describe function. We can also use the mean function to find out the daily yield, which we find out to be 3295.98. After that, we'll try to figure out the average irradiation for a particular day. So we'll sum up the irradiation values that we have, and since the data has been collected over a period of 34 days, we'll divide it by 34 to get the average value of irradiation, which we see comes out to be 21.37. We'll also try to find out what is the maximum ambient and module temperature over this entire time period. So we can see that the maximum ambient temperature is 35 degrees, and the maximum module temperature is 65.5 degrees. So as we can see, for the generation dataset, we have different source keys, which are basically unique IDs that are assigned to each of the inverters. So we'll try to figure out what is the total number of inverters that we have. So we'll use the unique function to figure out the unique source keys that we have, and we'll use the length function to find out the length of this array. So we can see that there are 22 different unique source keys, which means that there are 22 inverters throughout the grid. Next, we'll try to figure out which of these inverter IDs has the maximum value for the DC and AC power generation. So we do that by using the .idx function. This helps out to figure out the maximum value for each of these columns, and we can get the value of the particular row. So using this, we can find out which of these 22 inverters has the maximum DC and AC power generation. Once you've done that, we'll try to plot a heat map. So heat map is basically a table which shows us the correlation between the different sets of numerical data in that particular table. So we'll do that for the sensor table. So this is the table that we obtain. So here we can see, I'll explain the values. So each of these values is the correlation value for the two sets of data that we have. So a correlation value of 8.0.85 is between the ambient temperature and module temperature, which indicates a positive correlation, which means that if the ambient temperature increases, we can safely assume that the module temperature will increase as well. So we see the highest value of correlation between the air radiation and module temperature, which means that when the air radiation increases, we can very safely assume that the module temperature will increase as well. Okay. So since we have a number of inverters at a particular plant, we'll try to figure out which of these inverters generate. Now we'll try to analyze which of the 22 inverters that are present at a particular plant are the least efficient. So ideally, since each of these inverters is connected to the same number of solar panels, and all of these solar panels are present at the under the same ambient conditions, ideally each of these solar panels, or each of these inverters, should I say, should generate the same amount of DC and AC power. Unfortunately, from this graph, we can see that's not the case. So we can see two separate IDs, the two separate source keys for the inverters, which have substantially less amount of DC power generation. So this helps us identify the inverters which are in need of repair or maintenance. So once we've done that, we'll try to plot out the daily yield for the entire time period, and we'll try to find out the relationship between the DC and AC power at a particular point of time. So to do that, we add a new column into our table, which is the time column, which helps us to figure out the timestamp for each of these values. So once we do that, we can plot the DC and AC power at a particular period of time. So from this graph, we can observe that there's a significant difference between the amount of DC power and the amount of AC power which is generated at a particular time. This helps us understand that the inverters are performing at a lower efficiency, and the efficiency factor for conversion of DC to AC is very low for the plant 1. After we've done that, we'll try to figure out what the value of the daily yield is for each of these plants. So we'll group them as per the different days, and once we do that, let's wait for this function to run. So here we can observe that the values for the DC power and daily yield are plotted for each of the different days. So we can figure out where the DC power yield is fluctuating. So we can see on certain particular days like the 19th of May, the 20th of May, and the 23rd of May, there are gaps in the DC power generation. So from here we can figure out that at these particular time periods, the plant wasn't running under the full capacity, and we can safely assume that these are maintenance breaks. By analyzing these datasets, we can try to answer a few questions. The first one is what the value of the mean value of the daily yield. So from the describe function, we can see that the mean value of the daily yield for the two different plants is found to be 3295.96 and 3294.89 respectively. Then we'll try to find out the average irradiation, uh, which you can find out using the functions that are shown. After that, we try to find out the correlation between the maximum module and the ambient temperature and how these are related. So as we saw from the heat map, the module temperature is highly affected by the ambient temperature, by the positive value of the correlation, and that is this factor that we can see from this graph. Also, we can find out the number of inverters that are present at each of these plants. We find that to be 22 for both of the plants. We also try to figure out which inverter ID generates the maximum DC or AC power. So like I said before, using the IDX function, IDX max function, we can figure out the row number for which the maximum value of AC and DC power is present. So we find that to be same. So interestingly, we can figure out that the same inverter is responsible for the maximum DC and AC power generation. So we also try to figure out if the ambient or module temperature is affected by irradiation, and from the positive value of the correlation that we saw from the heat map, we can assume that we can safely understand that with there's a positive correlation, which means that if the irradiation increases, we can expect the ambient module temperature to rise as well. We're also trying to find out the efficiency of DC to AC conversion, and we can use that to find out the faulty inverters. We also figure out the conversion efficiency of each of these inverters. So as you can see, for plant 1, the conversion efficiency is quite low, whereas for plant 2, the DC and AC powers are almost of the same value, which means we can assume that the inverters that are present in plant 2 are much more efficient at converting the DC power to AC. We can also figure out the maintenance schedule for the different power plants by plotting the DC power and daily yield for each day. So as we can see, for plant 1, maintenance was scheduled on 19th May, 20th May, and 21st May and 23rd May, as there are gaps in the AC DC power generation.